Here it is again. You're standing 2 feet away from someone you've absolutely met before, maybe twice, maybe 3 times, and their name is just not there. Not hiding, not stuck somewhere behind your tongue, just gone. Clean, like it was never stored in the first place. And here's the thing, the forgetting isn't even the worst part. The worst part is the performance that comes after. The next 15 seconds of pure, improvised, award-worthy theater. You angle your body just right, you speak in deliberate generalities, you develop a sudden, intense interest in literally anyone else in the room saying this person's name first. You briefly consider faking an emergency. You briefly consider actually creating one. We laugh about it. We've all been there. But here's what almost nobody tells you. The people who do this constantly, the chronic name forgetters, the ones who've quietly wondered if something is wrong with them, they are not careless. They're not rude, and they are almost certainly not as unintelligent as the world has subtly, persistently suggested they might be. There is something very specific happening in their brains, and once you understand it, you will never feel quite the same kind of shame about it again. Let's go back to the moment you meet someone new, because your brain, in that exact instant, is doing an extraordinary amount of work. It's reading the person's face for micro-expressions, calculating social hierarchy, registering tone of voice, proximity, context, simultaneously running a background check on whether this person seems safe, whether they like you, whether you like them, what you're supposed to say next, and whether your handshake was too firm. Your prefrontal cortex, your brain's working memory, the cognitive equivalent of a whiteboard, is already full. And into that exact moment of beautiful, chaotic overwhelm, someone hands you one single arbitrary sound. Hi, I'm Kevin. Kevin. And your brain, bless it, does absolutely nothing useful with that. Because Kevin doesn't mean anything. It doesn't connect to a concept, an image, an emotion, or a story. It doesn't trigger an association. It doesn't attach to anything already living in your mental landscape. It just sits there, isolated and rootless, in a brain that is frankly far too busy to babysit it. Psychologists actually gave this a name. In 1987, researchers McWeeny and Ellis published a study that became quietly famous in cognitive science, what they called the Baker-Baker paradox. Here's how it worked. They showed participants a photograph of a person and told one group that the man in the photo was a baker by profession. They told another group that his surname was Baker. Days later, the people who learned the occupation remembered it significantly easier than the people who learned it as a name. Same word, completely different retention. Because baker as a job activates an entire universe of associations: flour, warmth, early mornings, the smell of something good coming out of an oven. Your brain grabs onto it. It has somewhere to put it. As a name, it activates nothing. It floats, unanchored. Names, by their very nature, are semantically empty, and your brain, magnificent, ruthless efficiency machine that it is, holds on to things that mean something, that connect to something, that carry emotional or conceptual weight. Think about the last funeral you attended. You probably remember the specific weight of the silence in that room, the exact flowers, who broke down first, a sentence someone said that found its way straight into your chest and never fully left. You almost certainly don't remember what was printed on the order of service, because your brain made an executive decision without consulting you about what mattered, and it was not the paper. It was never the paper. Names are the order of service. Everything else about a person, the way they laughed, the thing they said about their sister, the odd opinion they had that stayed with you, that's the funeral. Now, here's where it gets a little more personal, a little less comfortable, because there's a specific profile of chronic name forgetter that doesn't get talked about enough. It's not the distracted person, it's not the self-absorbed one, it's the overthinking one. A significant portion of the people who consistently forget names are people who are exquisitely, painfully inside their own heads during social interaction. Not from ego, from anxiety. While you're introducing yourself to them, they're internally running a full parallel monologue. Was that too much eye contact? Not enough? Should I have laughed there? Did I interrupt? Do I seem nervous? I seem nervous. Your name enters the room. It takes one step inside, and then the internal weather system bulldozes clean over it, and it's gone. This is actually documented. There's a phenomenon called the next in line effect, first observed by psychologist Malcolm Brenner in 1973. People who were waiting for their turn to speak in a group showed dramatically reduced memory for what the person directly before them had said, because mentally they'd already left, already preparing, editing, rehearsing. People with social anxiety, or even just a highly active self-monitoring system, live in that state permanently, never fully here, always half a step into what comes next, which means by the time your name is offered to them, they're already somewhere else. If that's you, here is the reframe. You don't have a memory problem. You have a preoccupation problem. Those are not the same thing. And I want to take a moment here for the people on the other side of this, the people whose names get forgotten, because the sting is real and it would be undishonest to pretend otherwise. When your name disappears from someone's mind, especially more than once, it lands like a small, precise message. You didn't matter enough to stick. That's what it feels like, even when it's completely, factually wrong. The brain doesn't always pause for the rational interpretation. It just feels like being slightly erased. But here's what's almost certainly true. The person who forgot your name probably thought about the conversation afterwards. They remembered the specific thing you said about your father, the way your face changed when you talked about something you loved, an odd opinion they had that stayed with you. They were there. They were fully, genuinely there. Just not quite for the label part. Because this is the thing about memory that most people fundamentally misunderstand. It's not a recording. Your brain doesn't store experiences the way a hard drive stores files, neat, sequential, retrievable on demand. It stores impressions, emotions, fragments, the texture of moments. And it prioritizes with absolutely no apology. High emotion? Stored. Unexpected? Stored. Connected to something you already know and love? Stored. One arbitrary syllable handed to you at the exact moment your nervous system was quietly screaming? Good luck. People who forget names easily tend to share something else. They're often deeply associative thinkers, richly contextual. They remember stories. They remember the look on someone's face when they said the one true thing. Ask them what someone wore to a party 3 years ago, and they might actually tell you. Ask them the name of the person standing next to them in that same memory, blank. Because their brain was busy cataloging everything that mattered, and the label wasn't on that list. This isn't a flaw, it's an architecture, one that happens to be extraordinarily well-suited to emotional attunement, to deep listening, to the kind of presence that makes people feel, even without knowing why, genuinely seen, and less well-suited to the specific, mechanical, borderline arbitrary task of retaining what someone was called under social pressure at the exact moment your brain was trying to do 12 other things. None of this means you can't get better at it. Repeating someone's name back when you meet them, connecting it to a face or a person you already know, building a small mental image, these techniques work. They work because you're doing manually what your brain won't do automatically, constructing the association that wasn't there. You're building a little bridge between Kevin and something that already has a home in your mental world. It's worth trying. But the shame spiral? The quiet, persistent, low-grade belief that forgetting names makes you someone who moves through the world without really registering other people. That part is wrong. And it's worth saying clearly because a lot of people carry it for years without ever questioning whether it's actually true. You are not absent. You are not dismissive. You are someone whose brain prioritizes differently, gets overtaken by its own internal weather, and occasionally fails at the single least interesting thing about another human being. The arbitrary sound their parents chose before they'd done anything worth remembering. The name was always the least of it. What you remember about people, the real stuff, the texture of who they actually are, that part is still there. It's been there the whole time.